Go to item N10, presentation from Texas State Technical College regarding Central Texas Industrial Training Center.
There's a mismatch between the number of jobs that are available and the number of people that are available to fill those positions.
Move to accept for recording purposes.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
All right, if we could go to item N6, that's the Greater Waco Chamber of Commerce Monthly Economic Development Report for January 2022.
Know that we have had one project announcement for this first quarter, and that was in McGregor with Messer.
All right, if there's no questions, is there a motion to approve the chamber report for recording purposes?
Motion to approve. Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
All right, we can go back up to item F, budget and budget amendments. F1's regarding the FY22 budget. Francis?
FY22 budget amendments, starting with F1A.
Is there a motion to approve F1D through F1I?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Under item G, bids, RFPs, RFQs, G1 is authorization of recommendations. G1A regarding bid 22-004, aggregate surface treatment for delivery and pickup.
All right, what's the pleasure on items G1A?
Motion to approve the purchasing director's recommendations on the bids.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. All right.
All right, item G1B regarding bid 22-005, asphalt emulsions for delivery and pickup.
Not what's the pleasure, court?
Move to approve the recommendation of the purchasing director.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass. I'd like to go to item L1. We have Shane Turner and Fiona Bond here. This is regarding the U.S. Department of Treasury Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund American Rescue Plan Act discussion or action regarding the eligible expenses and our funding guidelines, reporting requirements, and funding request. Okay.
So I'm Fiona Bond, Executive Director of Creative Waco, and of course this is Shane Turner, owner and operator of the Hippodrome.
All right, so we will recess until 1 o'clock tomorrow. So it's 11. All right, good morning. Let's call court to order. Today is Tuesday, March 1st, 2022. It's 9 a.m. Proof of posting, please.
The agenda was posted on Friday, February 25th, 2022 at 3:10 p.m.
Thank you. And if anyone has a public comment, they can come forward now from the audience. Yes, sir.
My name is Shannon Caraway. I'm Vice President for Business Development for a company called Solar Prime. Currently, we're trying to develop another 300 megawatt solar farm and 300 megawatt battery energy storage project here in McLennan County. And it's out
All right, good morning, everyone. Let's call court to order. All right. Today is Tuesday, May 16th, 2023. It's 9 a.m. Proof of posting, please.
The agenda was posted on Friday, May 12th, 2023 at 1:45 p.m.
Thank you. This time, we'll stand for a moment of silence, and then we'll have our Veteran Service Officer, Steve Hernandez, lead us in the pledge to the flags.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the Now the Texas pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Thank you. All right, this would have been a good day to start admission fee to come into court. But then we would have had to have a door prize, so might not have come out even on that. Before we introduce the guests and start proclamations, this time, if there's any members of the audience that want to speak to the court on business matters, please do so at this time. All right, seeing none. All right, Mr. Miller, I know you've got some guests here besides those receiving proclamations. Would you like to introduce those?
Yes, sir. I'd ask us to turn our attention to M4. It is the acknowledgement of Metro Waco Commissioners Court Visitation Day. And I would like for Mr. Jeremy Davis, Ms. Courtney Davis, and any other adult guests that they have to come forward. And I know our youth group is a nice number, but I want them because they look so handsome and beautiful this morning. If they would stand and maybe come along the wall over there for us. Mentor of Waco is a youth mentoring group organized by Mr. and Mrs. Jeremy Davis, but I usually don't put tags on women, so Mr. Jeremy and Miss Courtney Davis. And they have been very influential in the community through their volunteerism. They are high school students throughout our public schools. I am going to just give a little background on what I received from the founder, and then I'll let...
Uh-oh.
Okay. You want the light to shine on you.
We have an
You want the
electric,
light.
yeah.
Okay, Mentor Waco is a collaboration of like-minded individuals coming together to guide and further enhance the young minds of Waco, Texas, and the surrounding areas through programs and workshops centered on preparing young students for success. The purpose of this program is to advance students through academic achievement, increased involvement within their communities, and the necessary skills that will be acquired through the interactive seminars that will be provided. And I did have the distinguished honor to speak to this group last year. You all want to say your name, starting with the gentleman all the way to the end to our left?
My name is Xavier Stewart.
You want to tell your school?
Xavier Stewart.
No, your school.
Oh, River Valley Middle School.
My name is Sorry Six. My name is Patrick Lee. I'm the ninth grader at River High.
My name is Tony Silva, and I'm from middle school. My name is Kevin Lee, and I'm from
My name is Elijah Anderson, and I attend River High.
My name is Lavon Williams, and I'm at River High. My name is Elijah Brigham, and I'm homeschooled.
And I'm Jeremy Davis. I'm the founder and executive director.
I'm Courtney Davis, and I am the founder's wife, mentoring program.
All right. to extend our congratulations to all the efforts that y'all have put out from the Commissioners Court, and wish y'all the very best. Seeing young leaders in our community as they come up through their ranks in school is very encouraging. And it's a real opportunity for y'all to take this learning experience that you're going through right now and use it in your later life. And you will remember a lot of the key functions of what a community is about and be able to utilize those as you move forward. Again, we want to wish y'all the best. You got a bright future in front of you, and thank you for the leadership, Davis, for providing that to this group as well. Thank you very much. And you're welcome to stay and watch the proceedings, or if you need to get to school or anything, that's fine too. So whatever y'all choose to do. And if you'd like to say anything further, please do so.
Just appreciative of you guys allowing us to bring the students in and learn more about the process. We hope it encourages them to be a vital part of their community as you guys are now. So we just appreciate the stepping stone to help them reach success. We appreciate it.
I'd like to also note, Jeremy Davis is a Waco Independent School District Board of Trustee member.
Okay, I don't recognize him. All right, well, thank you for your service there. All right, thank y'all. Going to item D under proclamations and resolutions. I'd like to ask, let's see, on the first one is ratification proclamation regarding the dedicating the last weekend of April as 2023 BACA's Heroes Day. So who will be giving the proclamation? Is that you, Commissioner Miller?
Oh, that's me.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Judge and Commissioners, this was the last weekend in April, and we presented this proclamation, and we're asking the court today. BACA stands for Bikers Against Child Abuse. And so the last weekend in April was BACA's Heroes Day, and that's what the proclamation addressed and their efforts. So we're asking the court today to ratify that proclamation, please.
Okay. All right. Is that a motion?
Yes, sir.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass. All right. Under items D2, proclamation recognizing, congratulating the 50th Golden Year all-class reunion for A.J. Moore, Richfield, Waco, and University High Schools of the class of 1973.
Good morning. This is a proclamation from an alumni group that consists of all of the individuals who graduated in 1973 from all of our Waco high schools that existed from 1973 to date. The proclamation will be presented at their event on June 3rd. So there's no one in court to approve the proclamation, but to receive the proclamation. Yeah. It'll be presented at their event. And so that's D2, but I'll go ahead and do them together if there's no objection.
No objection.
Okay. And then the third one is a proclamation honoring Mr. Alaba Bakish, owner and operator of Adams Grocery Store, who is with us this morning. Okay.
Why don't you come forward, and your son as well, and anybody else with you.
Mm-hmm. I want you all to come all the way forward. Mm-hmm.
Just right there in the middle. There you go.
Okay. I'm going to read it, and then the court is going to make a formal presentation of the document. Okay? All righty. A proclamation of the McLennan County Commissioners Court honoring Mr. Alaba Bakish, humanitarian, philanthropist, and business owner. Whereas communities exist, thrive, and are enhanced through the talents and skills of those citizens dedicated to purposeful persistence, sustained by moral values and ethical standards. And whereas the McLennan County Commissioners Court, mindful of the importance of positive citizenship, believes in the significance of recognizing those individuals who positively affect the communities in which they work and live. And whereas the month of May has been designated by the Small Business Administration as Small Business Month in order to celebrate the 33.2 million small businesses across our country, it aims to honor the amazing people who run them while strengthening local communities. And whereas Mr. Allah Bob Bakish came to America at the age of 17 as a scholarship student with the Pakistan Air Force, taking part in an under-training program on the General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon jet. Serving in the Air Force until his retirement, Mr. Bakish returned to McLennan County in 1982 and made our county his new home. The owner of several businesses in McLennan County, in 1984, he opened Adams Grocery Store, a fixture of the North Waco community for over 38 years, located at Trice and 17th Street. Humanitarian and philanthropist, Mr. Bakish donates immeasurable time and resources to help create a better world. Since 1985, he has provided and served a free Thanksgiving Eve dinner to community members, serving over 1,000 people over those 38 years. For Christmas, he provides 50 families with gift cards to assist them in having food and gifts for their children during the Christmas holiday. Mr. Bakish has established and facilitates a funeral repast fund, which has fed over 100 families in our community. And as a sponsor of the Juneteenth celebration in Austin Park for over 30 years, and the first Doris Miller celebration in 1985 at 18th and Concord, Mr. Bakish distinguishes himself as a man of purpose, humility, and generosity. And whereas Mr. Allah Bob Bakish, husband, father, community advocate, mentor, and role model, has touched the lives of many with his support of our schools, youth associations, and church organizations. His continuous gift of sharing serves as an inspiration and demonstrates his resolve to lead by example. His positive attitude, enthusiasm, integrity, and ethics propel him to the heights of those who seek to chart a path of hope and promise. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the McLennan County Commissioners Court wishes to honor and officially recognize Mr. Allah Bob Bakish, humanitarian, philanthropist, and business owner, role model, and mentor, for his leadership, commitment, and dedicated service to Waco, McLennan County, Texas, and urges all citizens to join in recognizing and appreciating his valuable contributions to our community. And be it further proclaimed that a copy of this proclamation be made a permanent part of the minutes of the Commissioners Court, witnessed our hand and seal this 16th day of May, 2023. Scott M. Felton, County Judge. James A. Smith, Commissioner Precinct 1. Patricia Chisholm Miller, Commissioner Precinct 2. Will Jones, Commissioner Precinct 3. Ben Perry, Commissioner Precinct 4. Bob, as I affectionately call him, is just a really good friend. He's a really good friend, and he's such a strong supporter of economic development in my precinct. Let me get on this side. Between your son, to get next to the judge. I just appreciate everything that you do. And I wanted the judge to come and officially present this to you.
All right. Photo op.
Now, y'all gotta come in close.
Come on,
Ready?
Oh, yeah.
1, 2, 3. Sit right there, please. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, Cherie, you want us to look at you?
No.
You good? Okay.
I'd like to say something right
Yes,
quick,
sir.
and then you Commissioner can as well. But first of all, I want to thank Commissioner Miller for bringing attention to individuals in our community that provide great leadership, and really look back into the community where they've done well to be able to invest back into it. The fact that we've got a lot of young folks here that are looking for ways to succeed in the community, to see your ability to be so generous, and not only financially, but the efforts that you put in, is a good example to set to these young folks, and we appreciate it very much.
Thanks.
Do you have anything you want to say?
Thank you, everybody at the shelter for coming. Thank you for a very, very important.
He's a humble man.
Yes, he is.
Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
All right, is there a motion to approve that proclamation?
I move to approve D2 and D3.
Second?
All right, have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. All right, I'd like to go to items under L1 and ask Randy Riggs to come forward. It's a presentation of Performance Quality Recognition Program of Silver Level Award for Texas DMV. So, good morning, sir.
Good morning. I guess I can sit down so you can hear me on the mic. Randy Riggs, Tax Assessor Collector for the citizens of McLennan County. Honorable Judge, Honorable Commissioners, it's my privilege to be here and introduce to you the Executive Director of the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles, Mr. Daniel Avidia. He has a team, and I have a team, and I guess we will introduce them as we proceed.
Okay. Morning.
Good morning, Judge Felton, Commissioners. For the record, Daniel Avitia, Executive Director of the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles. Joining me this morning is Ms. Annette Quintero with the Vehicle Title and Registration Division, also an Executive Team Member and Director with the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles. Judge Felton, Commissioners, the Performance Quality Recognition Program was created by the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles in 2017 to recognize and celebrate counties providing the highest level of service to their customers. This is a voluntary, multi-level recognition program available to all 254 tax assessor collectors throughout our great state. Today, we are pleased to recognize our very good friend, Mr. Randy Riggs, the McLennan County Tax Assessor Collector, for his achievement and who previously received a bronze-level PQRP recognition, I believe in 2020. Is that correct, Randy?
That is correct.
All right, fantastic. Before we discuss the particulars of his achievement, I would like to tell you about our partnership with Randy Riggs. Mr. Riggs previously served as the president of the Tax Assessor Collector Association, or TACA, and spearheaded a number of initiatives on behalf of TACA and worked closely with the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles. Randy was a great partner and continues to be a great partner during this last legislative session. He has met with various department staff members to discuss legislative bills, operational considerations, and the impact on registration and title transactions. Randy also served on several advisory committees to assist the tax assessor collectors and the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles with the establishment of best practices guide for limited service deputies and implementation of key legislation, such as Senate Bill 876 in Wheeling County. Randy continues to serve on the TACA board as an advisor and devotes the time needed each month to discuss operation updates with the TXDMV. As Executive Director of the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles, I understand the value of great partnerships and know that we have a great partner with Mr. Randy Riggs, and I am eager to continue our partnership. With that, Judge Felton, I will hand the rest of the presentation over to my colleague, Ms. Annette Quintero, to discuss the details of Randy's achievement.
Good morning, Judge Felton and Commissioners. My name is Annette Quintero. I am the Director of Vehicle Title and Registration at the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles. The Performance Quality Recognition Program is a voluntary program offered to every elected tax assessor collector by the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles. The award recognizes tax assessor collectors, bless you, who provide exemplary customer service and for going above and beyond in providing vehicle title and registration services. The program recognizes tax assessor collectors at 3 levels, gold, silver, and bronze, for outstanding performance and efficiency in processing title and registration transactions. This recognition focuses on a variety of items based on industry best standards, including remitting fees on time, consistently applying statutes, rules, and policies governing motor vehicle transactions, maintaining bonds required by statute or rule, performing efficiently and with low error rates, processing transactions in a timely fashion, having a fraud, waste, and abuse awareness program, focusing on customer satisfaction and implementing cost-saving measures. Only 5 recipients will receive one of these awards across the state, and the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles would like to recognize Mr. Randy Riggs, McLennan County Tax Assessor Collector, with the Silver Level Performance Quality Recognition Award, and thank him for his continued partnership with the department and previous Bronze Level Award, his dedication to premier customer service demonstrated by his office's unwavering willingness to assist neighboring counties in times of need, and for being instrumental in sharing their license plate inventory when counties and the department were facing shortages. His willingness to brainstorm solutions and resolve customer issues, his responsiveness and commitment to open lines of communication, and his undeniable dedication to advancing knowledge and skills of his staff. Their collaborative, supportive, and desire to gain the utmost proficiency sets a shining example for others to follow. These traits are a clear indicator of their dedication and commitment to public service and hard work. We are proud to honor Mr. Riggs with his Silver Level Performance Quality Recognition Award. Thank you.
If I may,
Yes,
thank you to the court for allowing us to come in here and visit with you about this. I try to tell y'all that we have a great office over there, but it just doesn't happen. It kind of sounds like my own funeral here talking about me. But it's not about me. It's about the team that we have. Chief Deputy Kathy Holloman is here. Here, Todd Labhart. Lena Gary. Motor vehicles. So the motor vehicle manager is Melissa Willis, who did an enormous amount of work putting this together and working within the framework that has been defined, which is quite intense, I'll say, extensive, I'll say that. And they have brought some of their friends with them. Not only do you have the executive director of the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles here, but you also have the assistant?
Deputy.
Is Roland Luna. William Diggs over here, who is more of the regional guy. Service centers. We have the regional service center here in Waco, and that is run by Sarah Valderas. We like to claim her, but she is a state employee. So, thank you all for what you do, and we're unable to provide this type of service without the fantastic team that I have. And once again, thank you all for allowing us to come in here and say a few words.
Can we get a picture?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Can we get a picture?
Randy, quick question. Did she say 1 of 5? Annette, did you say 1 of 5?
Yes.
That's mighty impressive.
And just for those out there, there are 254 counties.
How many gold?
1.
Only 1. There you go.
Next year there'll be 2 probably. Yeah, we'll be done.
So how do you want this?
I'm the one that's holding them back. See, they're already at the gold level. I'm just. Can I get my team?
To get one with all the team?
Absolutely.
Do you want us out?
No, I want y'all.
Oh, okay.
As you know, stand toward the back of you. Shoot down. With all the people in the audience, it's hard for somebody getting far enough back to get on the roof. If there's nobody here, when the audience is full, it's hard to. That's a big picture right there.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank y'all.
And here's an extra.
Thank you.
And Randy, if I could say, on behalf of the court, we want to congratulate you on receiving this well-deserved recognition, as well as your department, which you very readily share all that. Congratulations.
I have great people.
Yes, you do. And, you know, that's one of the goals that the county wants to meet, wants to achieve, is to have really good examples of leadership that's recognized statewide and sets an example for all, not only department heads, but elected officials as well. So thank you very much.
My honor.
All right, thank you.
And unlike the ones here that are learning the process, I think we're gonna excuse ourselves, so let y'all
Okay.
make the sausage the way you wanna make it.
All right, and thank y'all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
And if I could, I'd like to make a motion to recognize that item for recording purposes. I'd make a motion to that effect.
Second.
Motion made, second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Let's go to, under the consent agenda, there's a recommended pulls of E3A, which is HR report on IT department, and H3B, which is HR report on maintenance of buildings. Is there any other pulls recommended by the court? If not, with the exception of those pulls, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. All right, I'd like to go to item H2. This is a Baylor University agreement with Amy Lowry is to present this. It has to do with County Veterans Treatment Court. So Amy, if you're on.
Judge, Amy actually asked if I would cover it
Okay,
for her. So, but this is a similar agreement to what we currently do with the drug court, where it provides a Baylor doctoral intern. This will add an intern for the Veterans Treatment Court, and stipend will be reimbursed from our Veterans Treatment Court grant. So we just are looking for a motion to approve this agreement with Baylor University.
Okay. All right, what's the pleasure of the court?
Move to,
Go ahead.
move to approve.
Second. We have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass. All right. So I guess we can go, Dustin, back to the two pulled items that previously mentioned under E3A, HR report on IT department.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I have a request here from the IT department to fill a vacancy prior to the exhaustion of paid time off that was accrued by the employee who's exited. The position is Desktop Support Specialist 3. It's vacant as of May 10th. And the position is set to exhaust the accrued paid time off at about June 30th. The department requests the ability to fill the vacancy as soon as possible. It is a critical position, and there are applications received under review, and so the hope is to be able to fill it prior to June 30th.
Okay. Any questions? All right, what's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. All right, under E3B, HR report on maintenance of buildings.
Yes, we have a request from Maintenance of Equipment to approve the rehire of a retiree, Elizabeth Sutton, into a part-time clerk position with a budgeted hourly rate of $15 per hour. The part-time position was posted to the public and did accept applications for the required 5 days as outlined by hiring policy. Elizabeth Sutton's application does meet the minimum requirements outlined in the job posting. Ms. Sutton retired on May 29th of 2020, and so this person does meet the minimum 90-day break in service requirement. So they meet all McLennan County employee policy guidelines, and they request approval to rehire this retiree into this part-time position as soon as May 17th, 2023.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Anna? If not, is there a motion to approve this request?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
Thank you.
All right, Dustin?
All right, and Judge, Francis needed to step away for a bit, so we can hold the budget amendments and drop down to item G, bids, RFPs, RFQs.
Okay.
G1 is authorization of quote from Quinn Technologies for Justice of the Peace Precinct 3 camera system upgrade, and this does go along with the budget amendment, but this is a quote from Quinn Technologies. It totals $21,124.61 for a camera system upgrade for the JP Precinct 3 office.
Okay, any questions anyone have on that? If not, go ahead.
Has anybody reviewed this? And I noticed they're asking for 15 cameras. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is IT or security? Sure, okay. And it's everything in line?
Yes.
And I mean, 15 cameras seems like a lot. Yeah,
Most of it's on the exterior perimeter.
Okay.
And then there are some in the courtroom and then some in the office area. And mainly it's just for security purposes of the office itself.
So, again, who monitors this?
Yeah, that's another.
Is it just there for them to review if something happens, or is there someone that actually monitors that?
Quinn Technologies will also monitor, but if required, but it would not only be the judge and his staff.
Are there DVRs?
Yes.
Dustin, does this come out of the court technology fund?
I'm looking at the budget amendment now. No, it looks like it's going to be coming out of capital outlay.
Can we defer this to make sure we're using the right fund?
And we can hold until Francis gets back, and we can discuss it under with that budget.
All right, let's
amendment.
hold
That's
it.
okay.
Hold it till then, and then if we don't get all the information we need, or she can give us options of how we fund this, and we can defer it at that time if we wish, or
okay.
Judge, go one step further. I wouldn't mind seeing
the layout.
IT, all our JP courts, what's there? Are we where we need to be security-wise with all of them? Or some of them deficient, or some of them have too many? In other words, what's the last time we did a look at all of our JPs and determine what the needs were?
Well, and also if there's tax offices in conjunction with JP, generally when there's money handled, there's cameras on that.
Right.
As well, so I guess the positioning of the camera a little bit, but I don't.
Well, the tax office is also getting their own cameras. And y'all actually approved it in last quarter.
Okay.
In Precinct 3, the west substation?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This
In the
is
same
just
building though, right?
Yes, sir. Same building.
It is. From the original quote for JP3, because they had to procure different equipment because the original, proposed equipment was not available.
Okay.
So it's actually already been reckoned together.
All right, well, like I say, we will hold this until Francis is here to be able to talk about it a little bit more.
Moving on to item G2, authorization of Extreme XIQ pilot program price quote from Solid IT Networks for network management utility for information technology. John?
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
So this is an option. So we have found with the Manage Engine product that you approved in the previous court session, we found that we saved over $30,000 by selecting that product. So we're bringing this before the court today. We would normally put this in the FY24 budget, but we felt like we could save some money and do it earlier than that and get this problem solved for us. So as you can see, the total is $14,820. This would help us with our software as a service support and help our network crews be able to diagnose and troubleshoot issues easier. And we're recommending the purchase, in other words, in FY23 instead of FY24.
Okay, and obviously there's a budgeted amount, or so it'd be 23. So there's enough in the budget to cover this currently, without making any.
Yeah, yes, there's plenty in the budget to cover this.
All right, any questions anyone have? All right, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
G3 is authorization of proposal from Civic Plus, the Platinum Security Upgrade for Information Technology. John?
Yeah, so this item, excuse me, this item is to provide a DDoS or directed denial of service attack. Distributed denial of service attack protection for our website. What that is usually a brute force attack where they try to overwhelm your website and just make it unusable. We feel this is a cybersecurity measure that we need to implement now. Again, this would have been normally an FY24 budget request, but having saved all that money on a previous purchase, again, there's more than enough to cover this item for this year. As you can see, it's for this year, it'd be prorated at $2,213.25. And then next year, we would, of course, budget for the full amount of $5,623.
All right, any questions? Yes, sir.
John, are you saying we've never had a DDoS protection before, or this enhances our DDoS protection?
Correct. So, there is basic DDoS built in most devices, but this would provide us with an enhanced level of security. This is through our contract with Civic Plus, who is our website provider. So this would be an add-on to that contract that already exists.
I know that DDoS is a big deal, and at one time, there were a lot of people paying big monies to buy themselves out of problems with DDoS. So hopefully this will keep us from getting into that situation.
Yes, as a government entity, we are a highly desired target by especially foreign entities.
All right, any other questions?
I'd make a motion to approve G3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
Under item H, contracts interlocal agreements, H1 is authorization of technical support remote support agreement with BIS Digital. This is for County Court at Law Number 2. This is a support agreement with BIS totaling $791.93 for the software and hardware in County Court at Law Number 2. We just need a motion to approve that agreement.
All right, any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
H3, authorization of discretionary service agreement with Encore Electric Delivery Company for pole relocation at 415 Columbus Avenue. Ken?
If you may recall, we had somewhat of a discussion on the power lines running right through the middle of the property to power up the historic home next door. We contacted Encore. We're going to move the power poles and everything to the back of the property and resupply electricity to that historic home. And this is, it's an amount totaling the $22,043.66.
So this moves it to the property line, the back property line.
Yes, sir. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Yes.
And is that closest to the creek?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so it's probably property it wouldn't encroach on anything we're gonna do there. doesn't sound like.
That's correct. We thought it was the best
Yeah.
solution for that. And it gets it out of the footprint of anything else that we want to do with the property
Yeah.
proper.
So the property next door, the historic home, so Baylor University owns that?
You know what, Dustin, do you recall?
Says a motion. I'm looking at this one.
I'm not sure. I'll try to look real quick.
Well, that's all right. That's okay. Well, I know we want to be good neighbors and so accommodating that, and then also the property line between that we share,
Yes.
that we make sure that that's done.
And plus,
appropriately.
it'll be resupplying whatever we put on the property
Yeah,
as well. So it
Okay,
just
good.
takes it out of the middle of the property.
sure, makes sense.
So are there easements there? Or are they gonna move? Or is they're just running that? They're just moving this?
They're moving it.
Okay.
It's on our property. They're gonna put the poles on our property.
Yes.
So they'll establish a new easement.
Yes, that's
property line,
correct.
and
That's right.
Okay.
That's a good question. We need to be sure they eliminate the.
Yeah.
Yes,
If you're,
that's right.
if there's an easement running through the middle of that building,
Yeah,
middle of that property, I think that's important to know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Pardon me?
What?
Can you hear me, Judge?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you're correct. So the easement line is going to run back along the creek side and then come in between the two properties. So that easement that runs across the center will go away virtually for Encore. So there will be a whole new easement that'll be brought to court.
Right.
Wonderful.
Good, thank you.
Will that give us opportunity to provide, setting those poles in such a position, perimeter lighting for security purposes on that property? Will we be able to do that if needed?
Yes, sir, that's correct. And there's actually some security lighting back there now that's on a pole that's way back off in the wood line. So they'll bring that out and put us a couple of security lights along the path of the creek.
Good deal. Good, sounds good. Like it'll prove that that property will be a real asset to us, especially if we get into this construction stuff and then the long haul as well. So, okay, so what's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Go ahead.
You got the
Motion to approve H3.
second?
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Pass.
H4 is regarding the second professional consulting contract addendum with Lockwood, Andrews, and Newnham Incorporated, authorization of professional service invoice. This is for McLennan County water planning. This is the invoice from land totaling $1,250 for professional services related to water planning through April the 14th, 2023. It's been reviewed and is recommended for approval.
Okay, any questions on that? I'll make a motion, we approve that. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Pass.
H5, authorization of support and maintenance agreement with Excella Technologies for records management agreement. John?
Hello again.
Morning.
So this is just an extension, a renewal of the support agreement for our scanner and document. It's for the software licenses. As you can see, it's a total of $3,306.02, rising slightly from last year, a little under $200. The term of the agreement's from July 11th to July 10th of 24. Again, just an extension of the agreement, so we have a support and maintenance agreement on our devices. Sorry, for the software, I apologize.
Yeah.
For the software.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any questions for John? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
Thank
It's all
you.
right. We can take the next two together. H6, authorization of temporary service agreement with Waste Connection Lone Star Incorporated for a cleanup day in Road and Bridge Precinct 2. And H7, authorization of agreement for use with Reliable Tire Disposal for that cleanup day trailer rental Road and Bridge Precinct 2. Commissioner Miller?
Good morning again. These are two agreements that we bring before the court in connection with our cleanup day that we're going to have May 30th through June 6th. And it's just to rent the roll-off is H6, and then to rent the tire trailer is H7.
Okay, and you know the dollar amounts is on that?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
As a matter of fact.
Okay, the tire trailer is going to be $3,200. The roll-off is going to be, I think it comes to just a little over $1,000. Comes to a little over $1,000. Comes to right at $4,500, and I think our portion of the grant is $3,200, and we're going to cover the remaining costs with our budget.
Okay. All right, any questions? If not, Commissioner Miller, is that a motion to approve?
I've moved that we approve H6 and H7.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
H8, authorization of rental agreement with Cooper Equipment for Precinct 2. Commissioner Miller or Ken?
Precinct 2 received a quote for the rental and possible future purchase for a roller from Cooper Equipment. The rental amount will be $5,625 per month. I did check with Buy Board. They have a Buy Board quote on this, and it would fall under the Buy Board contract number. Let me see, I just lost it, 685-22. I think they possibly want to rent it for about 3 months.
Is this okay, it's not a lease purchase, it's just a rental.
It's a,
But we do have an option to purchase it, and they'll deduct the cost of the rental from the purchase price.
Got you.
Good deal.
All right. Motion.
Okay, if there are no other questions, I would move to approve the rental agreement with Cooper Equipment, H8.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
Under item I, capital improvement and construction projects, I-1s regarding the Chapel Road Improvement Project, authorization for county judge to sign notice to Spectrum Cable Television regarding utility relocation. Is that?
Yes, sir. This item is a letter for the judge to sign to require Spectrum Cable Television to relocate their utility to the proper location along Chapel Road. Recommended for approval.
Okay. Any questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Under item J, real estate, J1, this is regarding the old Just to the Peace Precinct 4 building. If we could hold it until after executive session.
All right.
Moving on to item K, grants and grant proposals. K1 is our ARPA discussion. K1A is discussion and/or action on first amended beneficiary agreement for Texas State Technical College Training Center to be solely with the TSTC Foundation and to make other changes. Mike, did you want to step through this?
Yes, the complexities of ARPA are significant. And then you add to it the other parties' issues, whether it be accounting or whatever. Finally, between talking to TSTC and talking to Forbes, came to the conclusion that the beneficiary agreement should be solely with the TST Foundation. And so that is what this is. It's an amendment to accomplish that and accomplish a couple of other things, adding some language that's protective for the county. So we would recommend that this be approved.
Okay, any questions? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
K1B is regarding the professional consulting contract with Lockwood Andrews and Newton.
Hold on just a second. Commissioner Miller, do you have a question?
Not a question, and I apologize. Since we do have a special group, you feel like give them just a little background on what the training center is and what the court's relationship to it is?
Right. One thing that you might know, and this is not always, each county does things differently in regards to economic development. But one of the things that we're trying to do is we know that there's a lot of interest around the nation to move to Texas with their production and manufacturing. And so our door gets knocked on. We have a contract along with the city of Waco with the Greater Waco Chamber of Commerce and all the different chambers in the community to promote economic development. We actually put money in that's matched by the city of Waco to do that. One of the things that we want to try to do, and this should really interest y'all because you're the target audience to try to attract into this education piece to get high-paying jobs. And we know that if we just open the door so anybody can come in, the jobs might not be high-paying. But my phone does that all the time, so don't worry about it. And so we have come up with the idea to partner with Texas State Technical Institute to create a job training center that's pretty broad. It can be anywhere from young folks coming out to training for specific jobs that the industries out there that have a need for. And so we would, if you find an interest in what you want to do, then we have many avenues to get training for that specific area. This would build a facility that is a big, huge school that has open space that we can create any kind of industry environment inside that building. And so we're fortunate to be able to get some American Rescue Plan money. It's federal funds, and we could allocate it in a lot of different ways. But we thought allocating it towards higher education or education of a higher level, I'd probably more specifically to say, skill-based is something that would benefit our community more. And by the way, it offers us another attribute that we can sell these companies, that we have skilled employees. We're not looking for minimum wage jobs. We're looking for jobs that with a little bit of training with our current population, we can bring in and they can earn more money, a real living with benefits and those things. So that's what it's about, and we're funding that now. And hopefully it'll be, the construction will be completed by the end of 2024. And I know young people think that's a long time, but I can tell you it's like that before it happens. So continue your education and look for opportunities of what you want to do. The good thing about going through technical and skill training is that you can come out of that training making as much money as any graduate from any kind of school and with much less debt. Hardly any debt, matter of fact. And so it's a great thing, and we're real proud, the Commissioners Court is, to be a part of this. So that gives you a little background.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Dustin?
All right, moving on to item K1B. This is the professional consulting contract with Lockwood, Andrews, and Newman. This is related to ARPA invoice. It totals $5,828.30, and it covers their project identification and monitoring services through April the 14th, 2023.
Okay, any questions? Not, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
K1C regarding the new fire alarm system for the Jack Harwell Detention Center, authorization of change order from Syntex Fire and Security. TJ, did you want to cover this?
Sure. So whenever we originally did the quote for the fire alarm replacement, we went off of the current construction documents or the as-built that were provided to us. The as-built were short on some of the devices, so Central Texas has come back and supplied us with a change order to put those devices in. The devices are of course detrimental to the system, so we want to make sure we go ahead and approve this one.
Okay, any questions?
TJ,
Yes, sir.
prefacing my question with I think, I'm not a big fan of add-ons or change orders, so tell me again why this wasn't found first time around when the quote was made to us?
We went based off of the original construction documents for the building and the plan that was put together by the designer back then. So we pulled the count of fixtures off of that, and that's how they provided their quote to us.
So there was no walkthrough of them actually putting eyes on it to know what was needed?
No, not a definite walkthrough counting each fixture. They did a site visit just to determine panel locations and some of the major equipment, but not a specific count of each device.
And remember, this was a hurried process because of the emergency nature of it. It was, we expedited the procedure.
Right, and I think in total, we're looking at a little over like 670 individual devices. So it's fairly large.
Well, you're only looking at the number of devices for this change order is what, 70 or something like that?
Yeah.
And the cost is $12,903 or something like that.
That's correct.
Okay.
What was the total amount of the contract?
12,903 or 905.
That's the change. What was their quote total back when we approved this?
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me.
I don't have it in front of me. I don't.
So it was pulled off of one contract, and am I understanding that right?
Well, if they were using the as-built, which would be a quick way of doing it, getting the count, and the as-built did not show all of the places then that needed a fixture, then that would account for the need for the change order.
I believe the original was around 255,000.
Yes, I believe that's pretty close, Justin.
And this will, if the court approves it, it will increase it from the ARPA funds, and then we will follow up on the next agenda with an order specifying that as well for that increase to be paid out of ARPA.
All right, any other questions?
Just one. I remember we did allocate for this purchase to come from our ARPA funds. So a question I would have would be, if we start getting into where that bottom line price increases, where it might have an effect on other projects we would want to pay out of ARPA. I guess we look at it when we come to it, because I kind of thought of it was just going to be that price. And we have so many other asks on that ARPA side. So I guess that's a question we can
Commissioner,
kind of look at.
Sorry, Commissioner, this ask is really a substantive ask. I mean, the only other option is to take it out of contingency and pay it, but there's no option of not doing it. Not doing it would leave us open for liability and it would.
I wouldn't suggest not to do it, but didn't we have at one time where the sheriff's office mentioned that they would consider covering some of the costs through their budget? I'm just saying, if we continue to get into where the project cost is going to increase, and then it would affect other projects we would want to cover with ARPA funds, then I guess a court question would be, do we look at another source of funding for any additional costs. Because I was kind of looking at just taking that price or that cost from ARPA, and then the balance would be left for other projects. But if we would continue to have rolling costs, I would think then a conversation would be to get it from a different source, to not affect ARPA funding in the future for other projects.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, although other projects would have to be something that we could spend ARPA money on and not, in other words, this actually pays for something out of ARPA that otherwise the only other place to pay it for is out of our own fund. And so
Right.
therefore the cost to be against our general fund.
And we're only talking about 12,000 something dollars, or almost $13,000. We don't have right now other situations where we feel like we're going to go over. This was kind of a surprise type situation.
Yeah, and that's correct. And Commissioner, this will truly be the only change to that project. The original scope with all the devices that were included has been completed. So this is the last piece to finalize.
And it would be out of the ARPA allocation that's not infrastructure and water.
Right.
It would be
right.
the other that we're going to use on the courts and all that, so.
And I wouldn't consider any projects other than those that made that deadline by March 31st.
Right.
I just know we've got some work when we revisit those.
Yeah, you're right.
Dustin, can we pass that order today? Why are we waiting until the next week to pass the order?
Oh, it just wasn't specifically on the agenda, Mike, but if you think it ties directly in, I mean, I know it ties directly to it, but we just had
Well, it shows the Commissioner's Court action, so order it could verify the Commissioner's Court action on this date. So,
Which order are we talking about?
was it in the packets?
no, it was not Mike, because it was, I can pull it up. I can screen share it really quick if y'all give me 1 second.
And for clarification, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying don't approve this change order. I'm saying I just want to be mindful that there are other projects that we have to go back and consider with that ARPA money. And I just want to be mindful of ongoing costs under this one project. That was just my comment.
Okay, here's the order, and it essentially just goes over everything we've already talked about. It tells you the exact amount of items that are being added. The exact cost is actually $12,905.37. It approves the change order, approves the purchase of the additional items, and allocates and approves the use of $12,905.37 of ARPA funds to acquire the additional items.
I don't have a problem with the change order at all. My initial comment was that I just don't like change orders. I don't remember too many times they've ever saved us money. But I know this is money that's got to be spent, and with that in mind, I don't mind, Judge, moving forward, and certainly taking into consideration Commissioner Miller's comments, because I think those are very on point as far as the future. But I would make a motion that we approve K1C.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose, pass.
All right, and moving on to item K2s regarding the bipartisan infrastructure law discussion. Judge, I don't have any updates today. I don't know if anybody from the court has any updates or any questions or anything to share.
All right.
All right, moving on to item K3 regarding the Bureau of Justice Assistance Patrick Leahy Bulletproof Vest Partnership Program, authorization of grant application submission for FY 2023. And this is the annual Bulletproof Vest grant that we apply for, and those applications are due by June 26, 2023, and we just need motion to approve the authorization of submission of that grant application.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
K4 is regarding the Bureau of Reclamation Water Smart Grant, short form of agreement for professional services with Lockwood, Andrews, and Newnham, authorization of professional service invoice. This is related back to that Water Smart grant and the watermarking strategy grant specifically, and it totals $1,137.50. It's recommended for approval.
All right. Any questions? I'll make a motion we approve.
Second.
I have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. Okay, at this time, I'd like to recess briefly for a break. Let's see, it is 10:06. Let's come back at 10:10. Okay, Dustin?
He's muted, I
He's
think.
muted. I think we're all muted.
Are we? Nope, just Dustin.
Dustin.
Hey, Dustin.
And Judge, sorry, I don't know. I'm not getting any audio from the courtroom.
Okay,
Got a mute on here.
Can you hear me now? Evidently not.
Yes, sir.
okay, let's see how I'm gonna do this. Wait, this isn't gonna work. I tried calling you on cell phone and use that speaker, but, give us just a few minutes.
Okay, yeah, I'll check with Cody and see if she's hearing anything, but I haven't made any changes since, breaking, but I
Well, the interpreter's hearing us, I think.
That or she's just gotten carried away.
No.
And I'm hearing it, and I'm hearing.
Okay. Okay, I think, Dustin, it must be just you.
Is it just me? Let me try something then. All right, let me switch my speakers. All right, now I can hear you, Judge.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Tim, we're working now. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right. Moving on to item L2, Specialty Court, authorization of order accepting donations under Local Government Code 81.032. This is, as we've done several times, this is just accepting donations for use by the Specialty Court program. We just need a motion to accept those donations.
All right, thank you. All right, any questions on that? This
Motion.
have to do with the graduations and them being able to give little rewards and those things.
Motion to approve L2.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
L3, Information Technology regarding Dell Incorporated, authorization for county judge to sign non-disclosure agreement. This is a requirement by Dell, and it has been reviewed by county legal, and it's recommended for approval.
Okay, and just FYI, I have to sign non-disclosure agreements from time to time, especially, or more generally, on economic development prospects that we're talking to, and so I do this, so. Any questions on that?
Motion to approve.
Second.
The motion and second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, pass.
Right, moving on to item M. M1's discussion and action on request for waiver of penalties and interest on property taxes. M1A is regarding a request submitted by Brenda Mesta. And I did want to take just a second to remind the court of kind of how we've been looking at these. We're still getting these to kind of continue to trickle into our office, but going back to that March 7th court agenda, the consensus that day was to approve any request on those that were mailed if they had evidence or some indication that they mailed the payment prior to the January 31st deadline. And then it had a reasonable postmark date, and those dates we've seen are February 2nd, 3rd, and February 4th. For those that paid in person online, they must have paid on or prior to February 2nd, and that's the day we opened back up at 10 a.m. This request is from Ms. Brenda Mesta. Her check was dated January 31st, 2023. She mailed it at the Belmead Post Office before 5 p.m. on January 31st, and the postmark date was on February the 2nd. So we recommend this one for approval.
Okay, any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
M2's discussion and or action regarding legislation. Judge or commissioners, any updates today?
I do not, well,
I mean, it's lots of things in.
Ken just reported that the legislation out of the House regarding the limitation on bids from moving it from 50 to 100,000, it's been at 50,000 for a long time. And in other words, if a bid is under 50, if it's over 50, you have to go out and for a bid. Because of inflation and those things, and it hadn't been changed for many, many years, legislation recommended going to 100,000. That's passed in the House, and so I don't know the status since then. And then other legislative issues, y'all know of anything else?
I've got one that I want to share with y'all. I think it's House Bill 1453. The Jail Commission's following it pretty closely, and looks like it's got legs. It would require that we put basically a social worker out at the jail to be the liaison between families and prisoners. And that could, depending on, we don't know yet, if one person can handle 1,800, or if they're gonna say, hey, for every 500 prisoners, you have to have one or two. But it does appear that that might be something, somewhat of a unfunded mandate coming our way.
Shock. No surprise.
Is that gonna take us past what that MOU does with those Baylor students? Is that gonna require us to do more than what that MOU provides?
Probably, yes.
Okay.
Because there's gonna be direct contact with the families. And I just see it something, I understand reasonings behind it, but I also see it being where, when we've got 1,700 prisoners, I doubt very seriously one person's gonna be able to handle that.
So this is in addition to our program with MHMR?
Again, I've read the bill, and it just says a liaison must be a county liaison between the jail and the families that are incarcerated. So I don't know if we could substitute a program, or I don't think MHMR would probably be willing to represent folks inside the jail that are not on their roster or not a client, I guess.
Okay.
So anyway, just something we need to watch, because it may be affecting us.
Okay.
Zane and I have looked at a couple of bills that address subdivision powers of the county, and as usual, like last legislative session, they're making it more and more difficult for us to have subdivision regulations and enforce them.
Okay.
What was the bill there was a bill that would not allow cities and counties to regulate anything that had to do with a bunch of stuff like agriculture.
Oh yeah, that's the preemption bill.
Yeah, the preemption bill. Well,
right.
And I think that thing passed the House.
It will be a source of litigation like you've not seen before, because there's no way to, by the way it's described, you can figure it out. If you took it as it's actually written and were just totally strict interpretation, I mean, half the things we regulate or address would no longer be subject to our regulation. It's a very unfriendly bill.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only other bill that's, of course, big interest in this community is the legislation that was presented in the House and passed pertaining to permitting of dairies in the North Bosque. And so it now will go back to the Senate, and my understanding is Senator Byrd will be aggressively opposing that
Well,
bill.
so that's good, because he is the chairman of that committee that it's in.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah, it is. Anything else in regards to legislation? Okay. All right, if not, Dustin, you may proceed.
All right, moving on to item M3, selection designation of public members of the Salary Grievance Committee regarding the FY24 budget. Mercedes, any update today?
No update today.
All right, moving on to item M5, authorization of refund request for overpayment of real estate taxes. The tax office has submitted the requests for overpayment of taxes, and those are in your packet. And just as a reminder, it's only those overpayments or erroneous payments that exceed $2,500 that must be approved by Commissioner's Court.
Okay, any questions on those?
Motion to approve M5.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
M6 is adoption of order establishing a county fee for recreational vehicle parking at the Heart of Texas Event Center. So a little background on this, whenever we issue certificates of obligation, we must have a revenue pledge. Historically, we have used the Law Library Fund as the revenue pledge for that. The past two times when bond counsel has been working with the AG's office, the AG's office has stated that we need to look for something different than that law library revenue pledge. And it has to be something that ties in with either a county park or county recreation per the statute. So the idea was to set up this daily $1 fee for the use of the recreational vehicle parking spaces at the Heart of Texas Event Center. They will collect those money and then remit those to the county on a monthly basis. We have visited with bond counsel and they feel like this is a good fit. And this will generate probably about $1,800 to $2,000 a year in revenue. The AG's office does not look to that amount. They just look to having the pledge that ties in with county parks or county recreation. So that fits in that area. And I don't know, Mike, did you have anything to add?
No, and Francis will take care of this. It'll be put away. It'll be saved in a place for payment of that indebtedness or payment of indebtedness, not just, put in the general fund. It'll be reserved.
Oh, okay. Well, I agree. It should be reserved and accounted for. The Heart of Texas Fair operations side was kind enough to agree to this. And my thoughts were that it's a bookkeeping deal for them as well, as that we would, as that funds accumulate, if they had improvements to the RV hookup side, that we could put that back towards those improvements and help enhance in the growth of RV connections through time. It's not a lot of money. It might be, little things like landscaping or those kind of things. But I think.
Well, and I may have overstepped on that because I don't know that you'd have to say it to reserve it. It just has to be pledged. So.
Yeah. And I don't think we have to have agreement right now that that's what we're going to do with the funds. But I think in consideration going forward, we can look at that and make it on a case-by-case basis. But nevertheless, it helps us not have the library fund, which is didn't collect hardly anything and was not significant enough where this is used all the time. So it helps us qualify for selling bonds for that purpose.
I have a couple questions. So this is on our just all of our COs. We have to have a fund pledged.
That's correct.
Because I can't. The law library, like you said, the law library fund.
And this is not much better.
It's just it's more of a technicality than.
Okay, all right.
And we had Norton Rose and all that bunch say, yeah, this is perfect.
Okay, good.
And I can read from Norton Rose. They said the total amount of revenues, gross or net, are not considered by the Attorney General's office when those fees are pledged to the obligations.
Because when we do a CO, we're pledging tax revenue I mean.
They want a
essentially,
secondary source. That's the only thing. They want a secondary
We don't
source.
have any, we don't really have a lot of secondary source.
Yeah, I understand,
count.
but it's a technical thing.
Okay.
And it
Okay.
really, like they
And I
said,
understand.
Makes no sense.
Well, it's in the law, so
Right,
it's,
but
it's,
there
it
are
makes,
many
it
laws
doesn't
that make
make
no
any
sense.
sense. Right. And then, so there, I mean, I drive by the Heart of Texas sometimes, multiple times a day. And at least 5 times a week, 6. The majority of RVs there are horse trailers. Are we gonna collect this on the horse trailers also too? Or
I
just?
think anything that hooks up to an RV hookup.
Anything that hooks up to an RV hookup? Okay. Because it might, marketing wise, it might hurt them, you know,
For
in
the dollar?
trying to.
Yeah, Wes said that
Made it-
they looked at all their fees relative to similar
Uh-huh.
operations, and that there's plenty of room to add this. and
Okay.
doesn't-
I just didn't want that to be a detriment to
Yeah,
them.
he didn't think it would be at all.
And I think they are $30 a day. So like Judge said, he didn't feel like the adding
Oh, they
a
already
dollar.
charge $30
Oh, yeah,
a
yeah,
day?
yeah.
Yes.
All right.
So now it'd be 31.
Okay,
So-
so that's a, you know,
Yeah,
1/3% increase, is
yeah.
that right?
And it's our clientele or our patrons, I guess, feel like it's very competitive. and
Okay.
It's fine.
Good.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve.
I have motion and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
M7 is authorization of appointment to the Heart of Texas Behavioral Health Network Board of Directors. And Judge, I believe we need to defer this.
All right, is there a motion to defer?
Motion to defer.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
M8 is Texas Association of Counties Risk Management Pool, authorization of 2023 property coverage renewal and related invoice. This invoice totals $415,913. Last year's was $361,660. So that is right at a 15% increase. Coverage period for this is July 1st, 2023 to July 1st, 2024. Just in some research, these increases do appear to be in line with kind of the industry. And Commissioner Perry, I don't know if you had anything to add about what you're seeing as well.
Property is extremely high right now. So yes, sadly,
Not a surprise.
the more dense our population gets, the worse these rates are probably gonna get, so. Anyway,
So they're going to increase our deductibles and increase our cost.
And our coverage.
They're going to increase our, what do you mean increase the coverage? We're going to get
Well,
added?
the value of our assets have grown.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
So they've got more liability than they had in the past. I'm not defending them, but
And so they'll do a blended where instead of putting it all in the premium and keeping the deductible the same, they'll
Yeah.
blend it to where,
Deductible, yeah.
right, the deductible goes up, but the premium doesn't go up as much.
I just hope we don't have too many severe convective storms.
Tell you what, we've got a,
Yeah, we've had them recently, but,
yeah. Convective.
I'm just reading what's on there. Oh,
nobody likes convection.
severe convective storms
Okay,
or thunderstorms.
all right. Okay, any other discussion? If not, what's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve M8.
Second.
Have motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
M9 is authorization of on-site activity reporting system designee for the Waco-McLennan County Public Health District. Zane?
Yes, sir. This will allow the new environmental health manager to sign the plats. The previous environmental health manager was David Litke, and he retired from OSSF. So his replacement is Teresa Wills, and this allowing the judge to sign this document will give her the authority to sign the plats, and it's recommended for approval.
All right, any questions for Zane? All right, if not, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
Right, we can hold M10 until after executive session. Moving down to M11, discussion and/or action, request to rename roads with a numerical system and display signage at Restland Cemetery. And I believe Heather would like to defer this week.
All right, is there a motion to defer?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Under item O, McLennan County Venue Project. O2 is authorization of payment for construction services with AT&T for the Paul Tyson Field demolition project. And Ken or TJ, did y'all have any details on this one?
Yes, sir, I do. If the court may recall, we signed a letter of agreement with AT&T for AT&T to remove their equipment and lines off of poles that were on the site for Paul Tyson. But in the letter of agreement, which was a total of $5,926.49, they do say it's an estimated charge for construction services and that they could come back and charge more. And that's what they've done. They have an additional charge of $590.44 for removing their equipment and stuff off of the property. So they had to do that before Encore would come out and remove their poles and their lines. So anyway, again, we're bringing this back to the court because, of course, this is venue monies, and we need a court approval to I'm sure we'll come back with a budget amendment reflected out of the venue monies, or anyway, we need approval from the court for the additional $590.44.
Okay, any questions?
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut this time, Judge.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And motion and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass. Thank you.
All right, Judge, I don't know if you want to go back and take care of the budget amendments and the one item on the cameras for JP3 now, or if you want to do the executive sessions first.
No, let's go back and do Francis's part, and we can also discuss that funding of the cameras for JP3.
So moving on to item F1 regarding the FY23 budget. Francis?
Sir, so starting with F1A, these are all budget adjustments for the current year. So F1A is a certification of revenue and related budget amendment. This is revenue. There are proceeds that were auction proceeds, and this amount is specifically for equipment that was being used by Road and Bridge Precinct 3. And so we're certifying those proceeds, and then the budget laws allow us to increase the revenue line and an associated expense line. So they're requesting that we increase their capital outlay line by that same amount. F1B1, this is in Fund 421, which is a permanent improvement fund for our 2021 bond. And this is to increase the line item for ADA modifications. It's directly tied to an invoice that you approved on the prior agenda. F1B2, this is also Fund 421. This is a request to increase the line being used for the tower at Road and Bridge 3. And these are additional costs. The vendor is Tally. There's a quote attached. F1B3, again, Fund 421. This is the project just titled 415 Columbus, and this is the demo package. This budget amendment will accommodate work that is needed to be done by Encore to prepare the site for the demo. F1C, this is Fund 170, the Law Library Fund. The request is to increase County Court at Law 2, their legal reference materials line, and that is coming from the contingencies within that special revenue fund. F1D, this is general fund for 474th District Court. They are requesting to move within that department into other services and charges for costs that have come up for the remainder of the year. F1E, this is general fund JP Precinct 4. The request is to move within that department into supplies and other services and charges for an increase in supplies for the remainder of the year, and also some other services and charges, including some notary bond fees and some of the ongoing cost, the copier and the cell cost. F1F, this is general fund AgriLife Extension, requesting to move within their department into other services and charges to cover some copier maintenance cost. And F1G, this is general fund, countywide department. The request is that we move from the countywide contingencies into other services and charges. This is to cover what you approved on the last agenda. It's the county's portion for the current year for the Waco Metropolitan Planning Organization. And so this will be something that we start putting in the budget every year going forward, but this will cover the current year. F1H, this is Fund 130, the Justice Court Building Security Fund, and this is increasing at the capital outlay line to cover an increase in the cost of this is the cameras at JP3 and the vendor's Quinn Technologies. There is a quote attached. So this just is an increased cost from what we originally brought to you. Any questions?
Okay, and in regards to JP3 on the camera issue, if we want to talk about camera locations, we've got several items in executive session. We do it there because it is a security.
And I think the question for you is going to be Justice Technology Fund.
It's Justice Court Building Security Fund.
Yes, I think that would fit better than the technology fund would be to enhance their
And so
technology.
there's budget in there.
Yes, sir. So like right now, it looks like there's about 49,000 sitting in contingencies. We budget, those whole funds at the beginning of the year as much as we know, and allows y'all to use it throughout the year.
The quote is for $10,734.
And Commissioner, sorry, that amount in the notes is wrong. That was the equipment, the labor's 10,300 for a total of 21,124.61.
Okay.
I still want to, 15 cameras is a lot if someone's not going to be monitoring that.
Yep.
All right, if we're just putting it up, so we want a history of what happened, that's one thing, but when you're doing 15, it seems like a lot of cameras, and then nobody's gonna be monitoring all the time. Obviously, they've all got jobs to do. So my question would be maybe to you guys, is there a way to simplify that still captures everything that happens, but with fewer cameras? That's what I would ask.
I mean, I don't want to discuss the layout.
I understand, and maybe we do an executive session, that might be the
Okay.
better place, but I think that's the question that needs to be answered. Is there a better way to do it? And, because it sounds like this is the top tier rollout of camera systems with that many, so let's just make sure we're being feasible.
Okay, any other questions?
Under F1G, my understanding is we've not funded the MPO before, so that's just something new that we voted to do, that they're asking all the participants to fund their
Yes.
budget. Correct. Will we at some point see how that money is spent, or will we get a budget back from
I know
them?
we have representatives on the,
Yeah, we'll get,
Word.
they will provide their annual audit.
Okay.
So there's some grant funding opportunities that require a cash match. And this would be used for those opportunities. They're generally smaller grants. You have to have a little bit of, you need to be a little nimble to catch them and get them, is kind of my understanding. And so this allows the MPO to do those things, to like fund studies and different things like that.
But they're in a full court press on looking for grants with all, with
Yes. The new director
Infrastructure.
is very, very aggressive. as
Good,
far
good,
as,
good.
Stuff like that.
That's good. Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, what's the pleasure of the court?
So what are we, we're going to hold which?
We can hold F1H.
So from F1A to F1G?
E, yes.
Okay, move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. So let's hold F1H, Dustin, and we'll address it after executive session.
Okay.
All right, so you want to go to F2 regarding FY24 budget?
And so, Judge, I guess I know Francis wants to kind of do a
Okay.
kind of a budget kickoff today, but I don't know if you want to do the executive sessions
Yes.
first.
We do. Let's get all that out of the way where she's got free run. And Francis, if, we can do either one. I mean, we're scheduled to meet after lunch as well, but, it's 10:47. If it takes us a few minutes just to go, we'll see what time it is when we get through the executive session, see whether you want to go ahead and start or
Okay, either is
whether you can
fine.
knock it out, or we can go come back at 1 o'clock or whatever.
Sounds good.
Depending on what time we break. All right?
See if we can knock 1 hour out of your 4-hour session, or we would be able to.
Yeah, that's it. So, all right, Dustin, are there any other items we need to address before we go to executive session?
No, sir. And so then we will add that security executive session. So,
right.
Judge, we'd be going in under 551.071, 551.072, and 551.089.
The last one again?
551.089.
Yeah, okay, I got it. Okay. All right. We'll go into executive session under 551.071, 551.072, and 551.089. And so we'd ask, besides the commissioner staying here, Francis, Okay. All right, let's call court back into session. All right, Dustin, you want to help us clean up the agenda items?
Yes, sir. So if we can go back to item F1H, Justice of the Peace Precinct 3, that was the budget amendment. And then we could also do item G1, authorization of quote from Quinn Technologies for the camera system upgrade.
All right. So, Francis, again on F1H, that's a transfer contingency on increased capital outlay pertaining to, that's pertaining to if we approve the next item pertaining to precinct 3.
Correct, so they would hinge on each other, yes.
Okay, so I think, Dustin, best thing is go to the next item. Let us discuss it, and then we'd know how to deal with this particular item.
All right, that's G1, authorization of quote from Quinn Technologies for JP Precinct 3 camera system upgrade.
Okay. All right, and so we had received a report on security cameras at JP3. There's a couple of issues that we want to address. We want to look at the detail and see if that's adequate or overkill or whatever, and then also the process on how we go out for bids for things like this. So any comments or motions by the members of the
I
court?
would like to focus again on the process, because typically we get more of an input from IT and purchasing in this. Doesn't seem like that occurred in this instance. So I would encourage the judge to go back and look at the process we've used in the past. And let's just make sure that we're in alignment with what we've done for other JP offices.
So in order to do that, would you?
I'd make a motion to defer pending the IT having some say, working with Ken on this, and then also what's adequate.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions or comments?
I thought you need a second.
Yeah. Are you second?
I second.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Miller will second that. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Pass. So I guess going back to the previous item, that we would just defer that action, Dustin, would be appropriate action.
Yes, sir.
All right, and so, let's see, what's that item number?
F1.
That
What is it?
F1H.
All right, under F1H, I make a motion, we defer.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Pass.
All right, moving on to item J, real estate. J1's consideration and action on entering into a contract for sale of county real property. This is regarding the old JP4 office in McGregor. We had, on the previous agenda, we had approved a listing agreement with Kyle Pascal. This property has been listed since May the 5th, and we have one offer in the amount of $140,000. I think the recommendation would be to move forward with the contract on this property.
Okay. That's a property we've had. It's been in our inventory since JP and Tax Office moved over to the new facility on the west side of McGregor. This is no longer needed by the county. And I think the offer is a good offer, and I would make a motion we accept that offer.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any other discussion? If no other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Pass.
Moving down to item M10, discussion and or action regarding settlement terms with Allergan defendants and authorizing the county judge or other authorized officials to execute the settlement participation and release forms regarding statewide settlement offers in the matter of Texas statewide opioid multi-district litigation for the county in the matter of INRI national prescription opioid litigation. And Judge, I believe this is just the next settlement as we work through these settlements similar to the ones the court has previously approved, and there is a quick turnaround needed on this one.
Right. And mentioned we've already done several, and there'll be more to come, so it's kind of standard procedure. Once these settlement agreements are made and, it goes through the agreed process of how those settlements are structured. So what's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve M10.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Pass. All right.
Right, and Judge, that should take care of the action items with the exception of the discussion on the FY24 budget.
Okay, and so I'd ask Francis, now Francis, we can do one or two things. We can push through and go into, keep discussing into lunch, or we can come back. You tell us, it's your show and it's, wait, let me say one other thing. This is the basis for us moving forward to doing the budget, so it's very important. So I don't want you to do anything less than what you had planned on it, and we've actually been looking forward to this report. So tell us how you want to go forward.
So I know some of the things that I'm going to bring up, I think will prompt some conversations among the court. So I don't know if we could get through it before noon, for sure. So it might be better to keep it all in one conversation and pick back up.
So if we went to 12:30, would that get it all? I mean, what
Yeah,
the court
that's fine
think
with
about
me.
that? Would y'all rather break for lunch and come back, or?
I just push on through if that's all right with Francis.
That's good with me.
That's my opinion.
Okay, yeah, okay, anybody else?
Good either way. I just need a quick break right now.
Okay,
Same.
all right, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess and we'll come back and jump into it.
Sounds good.
do it again. Call the court back in session. All right, Francis, I know you've got a lot of stuff to talk to us about. I know the calendar's one of them, and so it's a good time to, if you know, talking to us as commissioners and department heads, if you know of a time that this conflicts with, there is a possibility we could move a few things down. The North and East Conference takes out a little bit of flexibility in our time frame, but, and I don't know who all's going to that. I know I plan on attending, and
I'm going.
and so, and Commissioner Jones, are you going?
No.
Oh, okay. And Commissioner Miller, were you going to the North and East Conference?
Yes.
So it'll be 4 of us, so, yeah.
And that's that week of July, the,
17th through the.
yes.
All right, may proceed.
I'm going to struggle with this. Okay. So today, I just wanted to start and have our first, what I was calling our kickoff meeting for budget and tax rate. And so just the title of this, I just always want to remind everyone, because sometimes when you look at pieces of information, it gets confusing. But, you know, this summer we are, of course, planning our 2024 budget, but the tax rate is the 2023 tax rate. And so I just called it they're related. But if you ever look at tax documents, you know, you'll see 2023, but that is the rate that we're looking at. It's just being used to fund the 2024 budget. So my plan this year was to have 3 sessions before we get into July. So there is a lot going on behind the scenes with gathering requests and estimating and pulling information. But I just wanted to have some sessions before we get into July and we start looking at requests, just to kind of get our minds kind of centered on what we're doing here, revisit all of the processes and, you know, where we have been, where we want to go. And so this is my plan for the next 3 meetings. So today, of course, May 16th. Today, my agenda that I wanted to get through was to go through the calendar and look at some kind of from a step back, but also a little bit of detail as well. And that does need to be an action item as well today. Then talk a little bit about processes and statutes. We could talk about those for days. So I just want to hit the highlights, of course. If we ever want to do some workshop sometime where we do really get into the tax code or the local government code, we're more than happy to do that. But today, just some highlights. Then we're going to see our first look at what the preliminary values and rates look like as of now. Of course, very, very preliminary, but we have to have something to get the ball rolling to kind of see what's happening out there. And then we're going to review our goals and policies today. And those also, we will need to have those as an action item as well. So our goal, you know, of course, our goal by the end of the summer is that we adopt a tax rate and we adopt a budget. And so today's session is to help us understand how do we meet those goals and how do we get there. And so that's kind of today's theme is how are we going to get to the budget and tax rate? What do we need and what do we need to be prepared for? It's not necessarily a budget workshop, but then on May 30th, which is the 5th Tuesday, I'm going to do a very, very extensive financial update on the current year. So that's going to tell us where we are now. You know, what's our budget looking like? What are revenues looking like? And that's going to give us a lot of information in order to enter July with knowing where are we at in our current year. And then on June 6th, first Tuesday in June, we're going to have what we called the budget binder last year again. And it's going to list the last 5 to 10 years, depending on the piece of information, major events that affected the budget for each year, your tax rate history, your certified value history, fund balance, over under budget history, COLAs. It'll also have some department history on how budgets fell for each department over those years. So that June 6th, I want to look back and see where have we been. So, what of the past years, the decisions that you've made, how those have affected us up to this point. And then we'll again look at preliminary values and rates, of course, consistently. So these 3 kickoff sessions, so today, how do we get to where we want to end up? May 30th, financial update, where we are currently, and then June 6th, kind of looking back on some years and making a plan, see what worked and what didn't. Yes, sir.
Francis,
Stop me anytime.
on, like, let's just say this, May 30th and June 6th, I think, we should expect, because we don't know how big the agenda's gonna be those days, so we, probably on those days, I would mark on my calendar that we may meet after lunch on Commissioner Court days, or those days designated. So if you would, allocate that, because it very well could go into coming back, recessing, coming back after lunch. And I will try to end those Commissioner Court meetings, no later than 11:30, so we can come back at 1. That gives us time to get our stuff, get back to office, do what we're gonna do, and then go grab a bite, and then be back here at 1, so.
Sounds good. Thank you. And so then I handed you out just a few sheets of paper, and if you'll look at that top sheet, it's got the blue highlight on it. This is what we're used to looking at. This is a combination of a lot of different timelines and rules. So it affects the budget, the tax rate, salary grievance hearings if needed, publications, public hearings. And so this is the thing we'll approve if y'all want to approve today, and we'll have you approve that at the end of the meeting. And so just some things I want to highlight, and I have those there up on the screen as well. But budget workshops, we have scheduled to begin July 6th. That's a Thursday, and because of the way 4th of July falls, that's that regular agenda. So we thought we'd get into it after that regular agenda like we usually do, but it just depends on time, if who is available that week, but that's how we have it marked at this time.
Okay.
Then July 25th, of course, is the day that we receive the certified roll. I have down that we will vote on the proposed tax rate as well as file the proposed budget on Tuesday, August 1st. And then there are 2 public hearings. It depends on what rate you decide to propose, if we have the one on the tax rate or not. But 2 public hearings end of August, and then August 29th is our adoption day. And so that is also a Tuesday to adopt the budget and the tax rate. And then on that calendar, there are several items related to the salary grievance hearing. Some of those may be subject to change. We're still looking at how some of those dates line up. But other than that, we hope to stick to that schedule as much as we can. If we do need to have a public hearing on the tax rate, I have down Tuesday, August 22nd, which is just how it fits into all of the timelines. I just wanted to go ahead and talk about today. If we do that, do you want to have that in the evening? Or do you want to just have it during the daytime as the normal meeting time?
Any thoughts? Are you talking about like at night?
Yes.
How did we do it last time?
So we didn't have to have one last year. I think you had decided to do evening if we needed it, but because you proposed a rate that was not above the no new revenue rate, we didn't need to have it.
So that's the criteria, is no new revenue, new rate or below, or what
If you don't go above, so if you stick with no new revenue or below, you don't have to have the official public hearing. There are lots of publications that get the information out, of course, in the paper, but just that hearing.
I think the discussion was to accommodate people that don't get off work until 5, that 6 o'clock would be a good hearing time.
Okay.
Anybody have a problem with that?
Yep.
So we'll mark that if needed.
Okay.
So I guess calendar-wise, we have these. Hopefully, we'll get through a lot these next couple months. A lot happening behind the scenes, but then when we get into July, hopefully you'll have a lot of information that you already know and you're prepared, to go in and look at requests and be ready to make decisions if needed. I also put, it's not detailed, of course, so it's not going to tell you a lot, but there's a July calendar. It should have been the second piece of your handout. And so I just marked in green the dates of the meetings that we have scheduled. And of course, we usually do Tuesday recess until Wednesday afternoon, Thursday recess until Friday. We don't have to meet all of those days, but I just wanted to it was kind of nice to look at it as a month. And then that week that you're at the conference, we have that, of course, no meetings scheduled that week. And I know a couple of you have said a day here or there. And so when we have a more detailed calendar for July, I'll make sure that, if one of you's out, that there's nothing that, that you don't want to miss. You wouldn't want to miss any of it. But big discussions we'll wait to hold until everyone's here. Any questions so far on the calendar?
Any questions? Anybody know of a conflict right now? Okay. And we'll try to, I know things come up in the past, like in the past, we've accommodated those best we can. And so if you do see things coming up, let us know as quick as you can. We'll try to make accommodation.
Perfect.
Okay?
And so now just kind of changing gears a little bit and just, talking about the guidelines, the statutes that define all of these processes. So there is a lot of different codes at play, as well as items that are required by the state comptroller's office. And so I just wanted to summarize a little bit. Like I said, we won't get into details, but budget, you're looking at the local government code. So chapter 111, our county is subchapter B. Sometimes when you're at a conference, a lot of times they talk about subchapter A because the majority of counties in Texas are A because they're smaller, but we are B. And so the rules are different. The rules are different for A, B, and C. As far as assessing the tax rate and the tax rate hearings and the publications, that is all in the tax code. And then at budget time especially, we look a lot of the compensation statutes. Those are in chapter 152 of the local government code. And so that's where it, talks about like our office, elected officials, longevity for certain law enforcement, different things like that. And then there, of course, is a lot of other statutes, miscellaneous, that we have to use and abide by, and they're through various codes. Just to move to what is defined in the tax code, I just wanted to come back just to some simple definitions. Again, a lot, these are very simple definitions, a lot go into these calculations, but just to remind all of ourselves. So the no new revenue rate, so that enables whoever is viewing this rate to know what the relationship is between taxes for the prior year and the current year, with what tax rate would generate the same amount of revenue on the same properties. So it does not include new properties. If you looked at the same set of properties last year, even though those values may have gone up or down, what tax rate generates that same amount of revenue? And then the voter approval rate. So of course that is the maximum rate that you can go to without having an election. If that is ever something that we decided to do, we want to make sure that we propose the rate in a time that gives us enough days to have an election. So it's just something that we always have to keep in mind. Since the change 4 years ago now, that voter approval rate is now 3.5% above the no new revenue rate. And then each year for a rolling 3-year period, you're able to bank that 3.5%. So it's hard for me to believe, but we have already had 3 years under these new rules. And so this is our 4th year. So we have seen 3 years now of banking this unused rate, and we'll look at that here in a second. But then again, just unused increment rate is that 3-year rolling sum, and that's what is added to the voter approval rate. Any questions?
When they use the term, and you may have it up there on the next page or something, but is it de minimis rate?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
So I don't see it ever really applying to McLennan County,
right.
But what it does, it allows a county or entity to, I wish I had the exact definition in front of me, it allows them to adopt a rate that at least gets them $500,000 more revenue than the prior year. So some of these entities, if values are not rising, it's a small entity, they're kind of stuck. There's no way they can increase their cost. So that puts in like a $500,000 cushion. And so when that's calculated, if that is more than the voter approval rate, you can choose that instead.
Choose that instead. Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
of course.
What is the rate called where is it, I don't want to say effective and be wrong, but the rate you can adopt that takes in, it's the same as your current rate, but it does take in the new properties?
So that would be, I think what you're saying is no new revenue. So, when you see just current rate, that is literally like the 0.376355, the actual rate. If you just wrote the exact same, pennies on a $100 valuation. But no new revenue, if there's 10 houses that we taxed last year, those same 10 houses,
Right.
what rate do we need to apply to those properties to get the same amount of levy or revenue? So if those appraised values go up, then the tax rate, that no new revenue rate is gonna go down because we don't have to tax as much in order to generate that same dollar.
Okay, so if as opposed to the no new revenue rate, but if I wanted to adopt the current rate, then that would take in, that's gonna bring me in more money because of the additional revenues and perhaps changes in appraisals?
Yes.
And
Okay.
actually, both will.
Yes.
Because the no new revenue rate, when it's established, that's on those properties that were taxed last year. But also that rate applies to any new stuff that came on. And it could be expansions of, I think expansions on industrial property, but I'm not sure about that. But let's just say a new, like, in the news, there's $1 billion plant gonna be built out there. Well, that one coming online, then whatever tax rate we established, to get no new revenue, that rate applies to that new. So that's extra money we get in over and above what we'd have got in last year. But still, those 10 houses they don't pay any more than they paid the prior year.
And in some cases, they might pay less because of the additional?
Could.
Is that how they get the tax relief?
Yeah, so I mean, in
revenue?
total, you're looking at it kind of as a conglomeration. So if you had a property that dropped significantly in value and no one else's property did, then that could
Yeah, that's
happen,
true.
but.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to see any place that dropped, it's still standing. But, yeah,
Okay,
got you.
okay, thanks.
Of course. And again, like I said, not getting real deep into it, but many, many pieces that go into the rate calculations. Even after June is complete, you look at July through June for the prior year, and you look at your change in indigent healthcare costs, your change in state-ready prisoner costs, and so we're able to take any increase in those costs, and that gets also kind of baked into the rate. So lots of pieces, but just in general, just wanted to make sure that just remind ourselves of those basic definitions.
That's pretty
Go
interesting.
ahead, sorry.
That you have at the bottom, the unused increment rate.
That was that 3 point,
Again, back.
that was that banked amount.
Yes, the unused increment rate. So that is, the unused increment rate is what they take the no new revenue rate, and you would add your unused increment rate to the no new revenue rate to get your voter approval rate. So you're capped at what you can increase by. They cap it at that 3.5.
So would that be like, if you stayed at the no new revenue rate for 3 years in a row, you'd have 10.5 you could raise without voter approval, or what?
Yes.
Wow.
So yes, if you
Okay.
stayed no new revenue rate for the last 3 years, you'd have 10.5% of unused increment rate. And then that's how your voter approval rate that year would have been calculated.
So if it was, let's say 50 cents, it'd go to 60.5 before you'd have to, if it had been capped, if it was 50 cents for 3 years, you could add 10.5 to that 50 cents, or whatever, am I not making sense?
Well, you would add 10.5%
To whatever the previous years,
to the no new revenue rate.
to whatever the no new revenue rate.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Does that ever go away? Like, even though you have that running unused increment rate revenue, does that ever fall off? Like after so many fiscal year cycles, you could no longer have it?
Unless they change the law again, right now, it falls off after the third year.
It's a
So-
rolling rate though, because
Correct.
theoretically, you could not access the whole 3.5 every year if you raised your rate 1 year above no new revenue. Then it
And
would be
used up your
total.
bank.
If you used up some of your bank.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And then also just, this appears in multiple codes and different statutes, but, public hearings, so public hearing on the tax rate, which we talked about when we were looking at the calendar, needed, if the proposed rate exceeds that no new revenue, public hearing on the budget, it is mandatory we have one, and then it also dictates that at the completion of that hearing, then you should adopt your budget. So that's why we do those on the same day. And then, of course, all the publications for the hearings are made, and then any other information that has to be published. And then two, I know y'all usually say it during budget workshops, but, anytime y'all have a budget workshop, it's an open court session. And so y'all always have the public comments at the top of that agenda. And so, I know before we've, welcomed anyone that wanted to come, they didn't have to come to a public hearing. There's those opportunities as well. But definitely we want to make sure we have the necessary hearings if needed.
I don't know where it is, but I know there was a bill filed to allow publications through electronic means as opposed to paper. I don't know if that passed or not, so, or if that's still on the agenda.
I think it's still.
Still out there floating
Mhm.
around? Okay.
So before I go to the next slide, I just want to just make a disclaimer for if there's taxpayers that are listening or anyone else. So we have preliminary values and rates. Again, very preliminary. And so we'll look at the different rates that were calculated, but nothing, of course, has been proposed. There's no recommendations or anything. It's just looking at those calculations. So just wanted to make that clear. We'll work on what rate you want to look at when we get more into the budget session. So this right here, and it's kind of a lot at first, but if you look at the top piece, so preliminary certified values, so for the 2022 tax year, roughly 23 billion is where we ended last year at this, when we adopted the tax rate in the budget. So right now, 2023, the preliminary certified taxable value is at 27.4 billion. So that's about a 19% increase there. I do want to point out too, I know Mr. Bobbitt with the Appraisal District, he'll send out numbers too. And there's a lot of different numbers you can look at. So you look at the whole certified value, then there's a taxable value, and there's other versions of the taxable value. So you'll see different numbers thrown around, but this number here is based on, what we would look at, what we would actually be collecting a levy on, what we would want to budget for. So again, lots of changes will happen, but that is where it is as of late last week.
And those are values on any new things that were added as well.
That is correct. That is correct. That's all inclusive.
New assets, yeah.
But it doesn't include any adjustment for ARB or anything like that?
No, not as of yet. Not as of yet. And so, of course, there will be protests that are accepted or fall off. And then that bottom section, based on those numbers, preliminary tax rates. So in the blue shaded arrow, our current tax rate is 376,355. If you remember, that was about a 4.9% drop from our current rate from the prior year. It was right below the no new revenue rate though. And so current rate, we'll keep looking at it, is 376,355, but then over to the right. So our no new revenue rate would be 0.322718, and then the voter approval rate, 0.457908. So that's a pretty big area that you have there.
Does that 0.457908, does that include the bank?
The unused increment?
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. And so that's why it is, higher than probably you've seen before because of that. So can't exceed the 45.8 cents without having an election. But then, anything below that is up to you to make that decision once we see what our budget needs are for next year and you determine those. Then taking those figures and just kind of calculating to see, just to kind of get a grasp of what those are. So if you just look at the middle section on the current rate, so again, current tax rate you adopted last year was 0.376355. I wish I had like a laser pointer. And so based on the preliminary values at this time, taxable values, that would give us a levy of $103 million. And then right below it, you'll see that's 16.7 million more in levy than we are collecting this current year. And then if you go over to the left side, we'll start there first. The preliminary no new revenue rate, that would generate about $88.5 million worth of levy. And then that is just right over 2 million more than currently collecting. And then on the far side, the voter approval rate, you'll see there 39 million more in levy. So again, there's that range, and I think we're fortunate the situation we're in that you have that you're not locked into something. You can see what your needs are and make appropriate changes. And then there's a statement at the bottom. So we were just talking about that the 3-year rolling would have been 10.5, but ours is 10.9722. And that is because we have gone below the no new revenue rate twice in those 3 years. And so you are able to grab that you go below. So. And, once we get into a little more detail in the next month or so, we'll be pulling up the spreadsheets that you're used to seeing too, and we'll continuously update these types of figures so that you can see where we're at and what it looks like. Any questions or thoughts or comments up through now? Okay. So the other thing I wanted to go through today was talk about our goals and our policies. So we have had some fund balance budget policies for, it's probably been maybe about 10, 15 years now that we set a fund balance reserve policy. But last year,
Actually, it's only been about
6
9
or
years.
7, I was gonna say 7 now.
okay, yes, that's
Okay.
8 or 9, because
Time
we didn't
flies.
have one until the 2011, 2012.
You're right. So it's been a while. And so it's important too, but last year we decided to go ahead and create our budget book to meet the GFOA Distinguished Budget. I'm sitting there because your book's sitting there, the budget award. And so a lot of pieces of information needed to be added into that book. And so some of that information was the goals and policies that you adopt as a court. And so we're going to look at those here in a sec. But I think sometimes, I don't know, it's words on a page, but I think it's very, very important because it gives users of our budget or even our financial statements, to me, it gives them the reasoning as to why we made the decisions that you made. It just makes it more transparent. I think all the decisions, whether budget or tax rate, they should all go back and reflect the goals and policies that you've set. And I think really throughout the process, you should be able to justify any expenditure that comes before you in the budget, or if you're thinking of changing the tax rate, you should be able to link it back to that goal or policy. And if it doesn't meet your goal or policy, maybe it's not the best decision. But what we'd like to do going forward is that we'll review these annually. We can update if needed. We'll talk through them, and that you'll adopt them each year. I think it'll just keep them fresh on our mind. What we'll also need to do, or would like to do, since this is the first year that we have had those goals and policies in place for the budget year, we want to look and see, did we meet our goals, both financially and operationally? So financially, I would say it's simple to see if we met our goals. We see where we ended up, how much budget did we not spend, how much revenue did we receive over our estimates. And so that can be fairly easy to prove up. But operationally, that's where, sometimes it can be a little bit harder and is a little more subjective. In the back of the budget book, there is a section and it has a page or 2 or 3 for each department. And there was a lot of time spent last year gathering that. And so it's going to list the goals, the struggles, the plans that each department has. And what they wanted to accomplish in this current year. It'll also have some operating data. It'll have their budget history. And so I think by looking at those department plans, as well as what your county goals are, kind of linking those together. And I think, if a department had a goal for this year and they met it, maybe there was something we put in the budget that helped them achieve that. If they didn't, is there something we need to budget for that would help them meet that goal? So again, just a lot of, I know it can get wordy, but I think in the end, I think you can really link it to the decisions and justify what we have done in the budget. And so again, we'll be looking at that as we know more information in this year. How did this year go, and did it meet those goals? Okay, so five goals or policies that we wanted to look at today. So first is our general fund reserves. And so we've been looking at this one for a while. So we intend to maintain an operating reserve for use in the event of unanticipated extraordinary expenditures and or the loss of a major revenue source. And so our operating reserve shall be maintained in a minimum of 33% of operating expenditures. So I think minimum is key there. And we have far exceeded that. And so, of course, that is good. But, it's always a discussion. Of course, one of the last discussions we have, where do we want that number to really land for the year? So, and as I go through these, if you want to stop me, if y'all want to talk about any of them, please just do so. Then there is the balanced budget policy that we have. And so it defines what a balanced budget is, and that you don't want your expenditures to exceed your budgeted revenues plus your unassigned fund balance. And we do not have that issue. We're not in a place where that would ever be an issue. But it's good to just have this policy in place so people know that is what our plan is. Our mission statement. So these were things that we added in last year. So the county exists to provide our essential services to the citizens through the leadership of locally elected and appointed officials, and by following the principles of equity, fairness, respect, financial sustainability, transparency, and operational excellence.
I'll just say there's nothing more transparent than our process.
Yeah. Could not agree more. It's true. It happens right here.
Mm-hmm.
And then mission, then there's vision. So our vision is to be financially responsible with our resources, efficient in the delivery of services. And then again, we commit to a culture of innovation, excellence, and transparency. So transparency always key while providing the highest level of customer service. And then we have what we have listed as organizational goals. And so I won't read through them all, but I think when I was reading through these yesterday, I was kind of thinking through all of our departments and the things that we spend a lot of our funds on, or the things that you spend a lot of time on. And I think all of them, they definitely fit very well into any of these categories. So of course, the well-being of our residents, public safety, our justice system, environmental concerns, engagement and collaboration with our taxpayers, financial strength and effectiveness, and then making sure that we have policies and processes in place that allow us to be efficient. And so that's kind of a lot to digest, those 5 pieces. And I passed them out as well. If it's something that you want to just say, yes, we adopt these for next year, or if it's something we want to work on a little more, if there's something you want to add in, then we can just sit on hold till another meeting.
I was looking at the vision statement and those other things, and I really you know, you can always change things and change this word, wordsmith it differently, but I didn't see anything in there that stood out like it was deficient in what our mission is, or if it was, you know, too hyperbolic or anything like that. And, but I think it looks really good, and I think there was a lot of thought put into the initial efforts in looking at the vision statement, those things as well. Now, you know, if somebody wants to spend the time, look at other counties and see if they had a better idea, or other organizations, that's fine. We've got plenty of time to do that, but I think, at least from the way I feel good about what it is right now. Anybody else have any thoughts on this?
I like the idea of measurable goals, things that are concrete. This is our goal, and we can prove it up. And I know you mentioned something about subjectivity on some of it, and I know that's that warm fuzzy feeling sometimes that's much harder to pin down. But measurable goals are there for you. I mean, we either did it, we didn't do it.
I think the only thing that's, you know, easy to talk about or move, I mean, maybe is what our, what we want our reserve to be. And, you know, I think it's been adequate, and we've been over that, which, by the way, if you look at the no new revenue rate and apply it to those values, it creates $2 million more, plus any dollars we've gotten, we've used in the past. It's over and above what our reserve is. But the reserve is adequate to give us the best rates on our bonds and all, so that's kind of a, you know, you're using it, it's money invested, it's safe, but the purpose of it, besides giving financial comfort, it gives you the best rates that are out there on bonds, and we're gonna be in the bond selling business for a long time. And, you know, unless somebody else has another idea about that being too much or too little or whatever. I know there's other counties that have more, and there's other counties that have less. So, you know, I'm feeling pretty good about our growth and all, and, you know, sometime in the future, if we see things that, from an economic projection standpoint, do not look good, then the court at that time can rule on that. But I think if anyone has any thoughts and want to discuss that, we can do it now or when we get in the budget. So, any thoughts anyone has?
I just agree with you, and I'm gonna follow up on that to say that what we've done is position ourselves to where if we did have to make a change of any kind, it's not gonna be anything drastic.
Yeah, that's
You know,
right.
something kind of went haywire and we had to raise the rates a little bit, it wouldn't be a whole lot because of that safety net that we have.
Well, and Commissioner Jones brought this up several times too, that we buy insurance, we do, you know, do all these things to mitigate risk. And so really the value of that reserve has probably as much to do with what our bond rating is as anything else. That's its purpose. Because I just don't see us in a growing economy, you know, having an issue of liquidity and financial. You know what I mean?
So my thought is that as long as people are coming to Texas, businesses and individuals are moving to Texas like they have been in the last 15, 20 years, you know, I think we're fine. You know, the supply is way below the demand for real estate. And so you would continue to see this uptrend in our values, just simply from that. And like Francis said, we've far exceeded our fund balance goals, I think every year since we adopted it in 2013, 2014, whenever that was.
And we can look at that on one of the next sessions, that we can look at, you know, what was our plan and where did we end up?
Or look
And
back
we've had that in
historical.
several
Yeah, good.
presentations.
Okay.
So just to kind of wrap up a little, but I thought this was just interesting. I pulled, there was a session we did the end of May last year. And these were things that we were looking at the end of May last year, and I thought it was interesting. So adjusting the budget for historical trends. So we talked about that a lot last year, and we made a lot of progress on that the last 2 years. We looked at areas that were historically underused, or budget amendments were being made from them to other lines. And so we cleaned up probably, I would say, the majority of those things, and we'll continue to be looking at those. But we, that was done last year. And we talked a lot about inflation issues. And so I think the way we dealt with that in the budget, it seems to be working. Where there's no problems we have, no issues that we've had arise with the budget. We talked about vacancies and, that were spread throughout the budget, and we addressed that last year.
Employee
Employee vacancies,
yeah,
excuse me, yes.
budgeted, FTEs that we're not using, yeah.
Yes. And then we talked about making the budget document just a more robust document and having all the pieces in there. And so I just saw it and I thought it was really nice to look at and see, yes, we did work through all those last year, and I feel good about where we are on each of those pieces. So just what's next. So again, we'll have a couple more preliminary budget workshops, the next 2 agendas. Once we have more of the request all together and we see what things look like, we'll be giving you a very detailed July calendar. So my goal is that for each day in July, you would know who is coming in, what do we need to achieve that day, what are we looking at, and so that way, I think it'll just make the days go smoother. Sometime around June 16th, we'll have the budget workshops hopefully available for you all to look at on the workshop drive. And so it'll have the compilation sheets as well. And so just to prepare for that, just make sure you have access to that workshop drive. If not, I know IT can assist with getting you set up there. The budget binder, we talked about that. We'll be looking at that on one of the next agendas. And so that's where we're really going to review a lot of our historical data, trends in the tax rate, the total budget, the COLA that was given, things like that. So that's something we'll be looking at soon. And then I would recommend that you get that budget document from last year and just flip through a lot of the pieces. The budget too, but that front and back piece. So the front section, it's going to give you a lot of information on, the trends and what things have been looking like, the change in personnel, the change in full-time employees over the years. There's a lot of information. It'll explain, even just like our process for budget amendments and our process on adopting the budget. So that's all in there. And then the back section, a big portion of that is where we have the department goals and performance measures that we were talking about earlier. And so you'll see in there the information we gathered from all of the departments last year, as well as some operating performance measures and budget performance measures. So hopefully that will help us to prepare to make the decisions we need to later in the summer. But that's all I have for today, unless someone has anything else they want to add or talk about further.
When will we find out about the TCDRS rate?
So we do have our rate that will go into effect next January. It's a slight drop.
Drop?
I can get it pulled up for you. But then, of course, we will be looking through, do you want to make any changes? Do you want to make lump sum payments? And we'll look and see how those will affect your rate.
So how does that rate?
I'm listening.
We have to make up the difference in what the investments didn't make.
So
correct?
It is
on that.
When there have been some years that there were losses, that is, some of that is incorporated into that rate. Also, COLAs given to retirees are also in that rate. And then the main piece is just what do we need to keep funneling into that plan in order to keep it solid. Yes.
And yeah, so what we put in there is the gap between what it earned, the utilization, and put it where it needs to be solved, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe we ought to spend some time, maybe
Yeah,
just talking
I don't-
specific.
So, I mean, I wasn't anticipating we would have to increase that. But I guess as you add employees and, things like that also causes that to go down and.
The way Ralph has explained it to me before is the rate we have now, and I'm sorry, I'm having trouble putting my finger on it, but it's very similar to the current rate. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Wasn't it 14.7 last year?
Yes, I think that's.
Is that? I
Should have
think
it
that's-
great. I think it was just slightly below. But what will happen is that rate, no matter if you add new positions, because we had this question, I think when we were looking at taking over Jack Harwell, like, would that affect our rate? And he was like, no, not until later years. And so that rate we have now, I'll get that and I'll shoot it out to y'all. That will go into effect January 1st of 2024, unless we alert them by a date in December. We want to make changes to the employee contribution or the match, or we want to give the retirees a COLA, or we want to make a lump sum payment. So all those things would adjust your rate, and then that would adjust that rate that would go into effect later.
So you already have a preliminary rate though, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And do y'all want Ralph to come back in and?
I was about to ask that too.
Okay, excuse me.
Do y'all, no, please, I'm glad you did.
And I think, not just Ralph, but any other, third party that sets rates or those kind of things, and we want to dig in a little further. I know we're gonna be talking about other budget items like library and, things that we go in with other entities with, and so we can schedule those way out in front, so we can make sure they come in. They don't have to be all one day. We can kind of plug them in.
And every time he comes in, he seems to remind me of something I forgot. So it's probably not a bad idea to
Okay.
have him.
And he's offered to do that.
Yes, he is always willing to.
And then the only other thing I have, are we going to do what we have done in the past and start with a baseline of the no new revenue rate and then go from there?
So, I mean, I can do, whatever y'all would like to look at as far as scenario wise. Sometimes we've just kind of had the current rate in there and then see what the climate is. What do y'all want to look at? And we'll make it easy. We can change those rates like throughout the day or throughout the weeks.
And the reason I say that, I think everybody's goal is the no new revenue rate. Doesn't mean you're gonna get there, but it should be a goal that we have starting out. And so that's the only reason I want to throw that out.
And two, I think it's important too to first see, what are all the requests that are out there? What are the needs, if cost increased, and then, but yes, we can definitely look at
I
the
concur
scenarios.
with Commissioner Perry that the no new revenue rate should be our
I assume,
our goal.
I assume you've got everybody's budget request in now. Is the deadline, have we passed the deadline? What was
Passed
it?
the deadline.
Yeah,
We
that's
passed the deadline.
Yes, we asked for them to be
Yes
back.
and no.
Doesn't mean they're all in though.
May 5th. And so, of course, sometimes just people are waiting on information that is completely understandable. We've met with already some of the larger departments. We'll be meeting with some more in the upcoming week. But we have some information we're still waiting on, but we're getting there.
Having not seen the FY 2024 budget requests, and I know we have to have some more conversations about large bridge projects. I saw that email that we got from the state. I kind of want to toggle between the current rate and the no new revenue rate. If we get there like we did last year, I'm good. But I don't want to have anxiety and stress, because that's where I'm trying to start, and I don't know everything yet I need to consider.
What she did last year was perfect. She said, here's the no
Yeah,
new
she had
revenue rate,
both
and
of
if
them.
we funded 100% of everything that's asked, we knew what the difference was.
And she may say that again.
Right.
But we don't know
But to
that.
me, that's the easiest way for everybody that's following us through whatever it is to understand it,
moves,
is to say, hey, here's where we were last year, here's where we're trying to be again this year, but here are the requests. And it's more transparent, I think. It doesn't, you don't get lost in, well, when did you start here this year when you started here last year?
Well, we started with the current rate last year.
We used the.
We migrated to the no new revenue.
Oh, but
We
we
even
used it
came
as-
in under.
And we use it as a baseline, I'm pretty sure.
Not at the beginning. We eventually got there.
Yeah, we probably plugged
She
in
has
like.
she has three columns. The current, the no new revenue, and then the
maximum.
The maximum.
Voter approval.
You know, Francis, she's trying to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
But
I just want to be smart.
we always are, it was always our goal, but more so even than, like you were saying, you know, until you see the end. And so that's why I'd like to have, like, you know, all this preliminary information to you, of course, before we get into those workshops. And then when we start, we'll have it all there. We may not have discussed it yet, but you can see, you know, what are the bridges, what's the total amount, what is the cost of the new personnel requested?
And how do we finance it?
Yes.
Because if it's financing
Yes.
involved, it won't be a huge impact. If it's from a bond sale, I think we've, you know, talked around a little bit about maybe bridges need to be looked at, low water crossings maybe separately where they don't, it's more of a burden of the court as a whole, not a specific precinct where that, you know, that question can be pulled out of and we make it holistically. And I think that'll be helpful to the precincts that they don't have to worry about. You know, if you've got a low water crossing or significant bridge that needs to be replaced, then let's pull it out of there, prioritize how many of those there are, and then have a discussion. Do we want to, you know, how do we want to take those separately, put them above the line of the precincts and fund them, you know, through sale of bonds and then grants and all those things that we're looking for out there right now. I mean, it's if the precinct felt pressure because they have a big expense, it's beyond their control, and others don't, well, move it out of there. Just move it up and we all look at it. Because, you know, I look at it, our citizens, no matter what precinct they're in, they drive in every precinct. And so I think that's surely one we can separate out, if y'all think that's the way to look at it.
Hey, Dustin, what does the consultant say about the bipartisan infrastructure? When is that hard road and bridge? You know, when is the road and bridge scheduled to? I mean, I'm this summer sometime.
I think so. I think we just have to kind of get back with her. I know Zane has sent lots of information to her and had found some new opportunities, and we just need to have, we may just need to get her back to present to court, but we will dig into that.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Well, I know that there will be so we've seen pieces come across, and there will be, I'm hopeful that there will be a piece for roads and bridges and
Well, that's, you know, I've heard roads and bridges brought up on a federal level a lot. So
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Infrastructure, yeah.
I mean, that's.
well, the way they're just kind of
Pathways.
piecing it out, you know.
Yeah.
So
But, you know, I guess the curious thing about that is how are they gonna, I mean, when it comes to a bridge that you need to replace or repair, are they going to grade those? Is there a grade like this is a 5 and it's more important than a 4 or it's falling down?
Yeah, that's a Zane question, but there is a grade, but he can speak to it. I don't know if he's still on, but if not, we can, when we get into that piece of it, we can get him to tell us how the feds are gonna look at it and to prioritize, because he wants to prioritize anyway, countywide on
I know
roads.
that last thing we had some bridges that looked like they needed to be replaced. That we got in the mail, last week or week, I don't remember.
Oh, the textile?
Yeah, text out, yeah.
I like the calendar, especially as we enter into the breakout workshops with maintenance and operations, et cetera, going through July 6th through July 28th. I guess HR is kind of high on that calendar, because I
Yes.
would like to see what she's going to say about COLA. I know we still have to have a conversation about incentive pay, so I'd kind of like to hear that.
Yes, we've already had
Honey, and-
meetings with their group too, and so that we know that's priority and something that a lot of things hinge off of those decisions. So we'll get her in as early as possible
Okay.
in that time in July, so you have the information early.
And just for clarification, we're committed as a court, I believe the last court session I heard that to as few new full-time employees, full-time positions as possible, correct?
Right. That's what we're asking.
0 would be good.
There's gonna be certain positions that are, mandated, that we might not have, I don't know what they are, but, adding, especially adding, the increase in FTE trends in a department that's in a higher, steeper level than population growth or those kind of metrics, it's gonna be we're gonna have a lot of discussion on those items like that, I think. That's what I'm feeling from the court. And then the other thing is budgeted FTEs that are never filled. And we worked on that a lot last year and made good headway, and it doesn't seem to have
Revisit.
affected anything.
True.
I agree.
Anything else? Francis, do you have anything else?
I do not.
Justin, you have anything else?
No, sir. I was just reading a little bit more. As we know, under the bipartisan infrastructure law, a lot of that funding's going directly to the state. So we'll just continue to work with TLC and then also TxDOT and there are some competitive grants, but a lot of it is flowing through the state as well. So.
Right, and I think that, that contribution we made, MPO, is a start at that level. We've got somebody helping us out with that through our MPO, and I think that's good. And I agree with Commissioner Jones that the new director of MPO is really aggressive, looking for opportunities for us to take advantage of all the things that are out there.
Judge, I can't believe I forgot.
Okay.
If you would like to, if we could take action and adopt the calendar.
Okay.
And then the set of policies and goals.
Okay, you have the calendar in front of you. We had a long discussion on it. What's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve the calendar as presented by the auditor,
Along with the
along with the goals and,
plans.
what was it, goals and missions and vision and goals? Is that what you're saying? Approve
Say the
those?
calendar.
I think he just mentioned the calendar first. If I want to take them separate.
Okay.
I
Okay, let's do the
second.
calendar. Right. Yeah.
Second. on the
Have a motion second, any other discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass. And I don't know, Dustin, is it appropriate for a motion to adopt the policies and what we call it?
Missions, visions, and
Or goals
goals.
and,
Yes, I think the way it's posted, it includes policies and priorities under the budget. So if we need something like that, we can act on it today.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the policies and the plans as presented by the auditor.
All right,
Second.
have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, pass. Anything else to come before court? If not, we stand adjourned.
Recording stopped.